So today we have the dynamic duo, Ellen Devine and Roger Molina. Both of them have been in the hair industry for a very long time, and both have educated around the nation for a couple major brands. You've probably seen them out there on your travels, but now they are both independent educators working side by side with incredible energy, incredible passion, and SAMV ambassadors. So please, let's welcome to Transformation Tuesday, Ellen Devine and Roger Molina.
Hey!
Bro, how's it feel to be the last segment of the year?
I didn't realize that. Well, I guess I did. Christmas. I can't believe Christmas is already here. What do you know? Yeah. Every year I say the same thing.
Right. I got last segment of the year, and then I think the first segment of the year also, January 3rd.
Yeah, we're coming in
Look at you guys.
2022, you know what to do. Hey, we're going to start this right now. 22. Just kidding.
Well, welcome to The Joy of Hairdressing.
Yes, we are.
It's a little series we kind of started real quickly. We'll tell about it. Like, went on a road trip. TV didn't work. All we could get was Bob Ross channel.
Yeah, dude.
And man, we felt like we learned a lot from Bob Ross because he enjoyed painting and what he did and did it in a simple way that was easy for us to understand. And Roger's a painter himself, so he definitely get it. So I'll let Roger kind of show his mannequin. We'll show ours, and we'll get right into cutting.
Yeah. So the fun of it is really going to be we're pre-doing half, so you guys can just see like I'm going to call it the Beyond Meat and potatoes. We're going to do Bob. I'm going to do some that has some like wispy, moving away from the facery. It's also very blunt, but in a kind of unique way. And then this is the stuff that I'm going to cut. So you will see all of that disappear before your eyes. I'm going to step off to the side and kind of get some things set up. I was going to set you up on hers, but that's what we will be later. Okay,
yes. So Roger's got more of like a shaggy shape. I'm going to go in with like a super classic, really blunt bob. What we think is so cool about this is we are together the same but very different at the same time. You're going to notice I kind of have like my methodology of how to get a perfect one-length bob every single time. And I'm going to walk you through the sectioning to start. And the reason I want to share this is because it's the joy of hairdressing. So I thought about what's the one thing that I really, really love to cut, and it's bobs. And when I first started cutting bobs, I felt sick every time because one side would end up shorter than the other. And now it's a personal challenge, if you will. So I want to see how straight, how blunt I can get it. So we're going to cut dry. And I just want to set you up on the sectioning here. So you can see I have half of it done and the others are in clips. I'm also going to cut a cute little blunt fringe right at the eyebrow there. So how we found that fringe area, I'll walk you through first. I'm just going to take my comb, and I have clips in it just to get us started. But all I'm doing is I'm going from the corner of the eye, and I'm just going to rock my comb up. You can see right where my comb stops is where I'm going to take that triangle parting in the front to get a fringe. Another way to check this, if you go to the profile side, take the spine of your comb, which is right here, and I'm going to lay it directly at the hairline. And you can see right where this comb lifts off. That means there's a change of direction happening on the head. And it's telling me where that hair is going to naturally fall. So we're looking for the hair's natural fall position. I section that out from the point where the comb rocked up to the corner of the eyes, and boom, I have the perfect fringe area. Okay, same thing over here. I just found the high point of the head by placing my comb on top, right where it balances. I drew a vertical line down to the top of the ear. Perfect parting. And then when we move to the back here, we have to find corners. The head shape is round, right? So how we find that is I take my two hands, boom, boom, and I fit it on the head shape like a box, right? So when I do that, I'm looking for where my two fingers touch, and I'm going to rock my fingers in. Right where my two fingers touch means that's a major change of direction on this round head shape. And that is how I found my partings. This is something I've been trained to cut over the years, and it has given me great end results every single time. So I'm going to grab my scissors. My tool of choice for this is going to be my Streamline 5.5. I like working with a smaller shear just because I feel like I can get in there really easy. And I am cutting dry, which think about, if you're in the chat box, give us a clue of Why would I cut hair dry versus wet? If you have anything, just type it in. Think about it for a bit. Okay, so I'm going to jump right to this back section. So I just want you to see, this is the back section. Boom, right here. Now I have my other section on the side. So I'm going to keep my finger position within my entire section. If you've learned Redken principle-based design, this is what I was trained in. This is called a bevel of the head, right? So I'm going to drop a horizontal section, clip away the rest, and then my guide is going to come from my previous section right over here, right? So that's going to be my guide line coming in. And you see where the hair falls to cut dry? Absolutely. You can see exactly where the hair is going to fall. That is definitely a good reason. And it's a predictable end result, right? So first section, we're going to take horizontal line. My finger position, which means how I'm holding the hair, is going to be horizontal. I'm going to comb it in its natural fall, and I'm just going to place my fingers between the neck and the hair it's going to hold. So my finger is actually resting on the neck. And when I get to the front, I'll show you another view of that. Here's my guide. I'm going to come in and I'm just going to start point cutting at a slight diagonal angle. And I'm not going to worry if some pieces look longer or shorter, because what I'm going to do is once I go one way, I'm now going to turn my scissors and go the opposite. So I'm getting both sides texturized. And this is a way for it to look blunt, but textured. Now I'm standing off to the side so you guys can see right now, but in the salon, my body position would be directly in front of this bevel right here, or this section. I'm just going to consistently scan across the ends to get a blunt line. And then if I have any little pieces, like right there, I see, I'm just gonna hold it with a comb and go for it. Now there is going to be a little bit of length underneath. I'm going to leave it for now because once we're done, what I'll do is I'll actually tilt the head forward and cut that stuff underneath. And I'll just show one more section and then I'll let Roger jump in and catch you up. So I also see the streamlined shears. The streamlined shears are 25% off. The scissors are this week, right? So I think till the end of the year. I believe, till the 31st. So awesome. Let me move a little closer here. Now, remember, we're looking for a nice blunt line. And I want you to think about, we said when you cut dry, you can see where the hair naturally falls. You can also get a little bit more texture, especially because I'm going in and I'm point cutting. Sometimes when the hair is wet, it groups together. When it's dry, it's more spread out. I'm able to get a little bit more texture in there. And I'm just going to cut both sides, keeping my finger position within my bevel. Now, this is what's going to make a huge difference when cutting your bobs, because if I pull the hair directly out straight, notice that the hair kind of starts to turn from where it naturally lives. That's going to cause a little bit of over direction. So if you've ever had long pieces kind of happening in your corners right there, it's because you might have over directed it or moved it out of its natural fall. So the whole purpose of finding these corners of the head, going through and cutting within our sections that we call bevels, and keeping our fingers within that bevel is to make sure that the hair is in its most natural fall position. So if you learned something, type it in the chat. I'm going to finish up this bevel and move on to the next, and I'll catch you up with what I did while Roger gets you caught up on his.
Toby. Just kidding. Okay, so here we go. I want to disclose a couple things. Now, when we're cutting dry, first of all, that was beautiful. Give it for Ellen. Give her some love in the chat. So what I got going here is one side that's already done. We have this nice, like, kind of flipped out, kind of 70s/90s/2020s interpretation. And like you know, setting up the hair is super important when it comes to dry cutting. So Ellen, how did you prep your hair?
I use the sleeker iron.
Okay, so she prepped hers with the sleeker iron, got it straight. I did that too. And then I cut this side, and then I felt like some of these pieces were maybe a little bit too short. They didn't have the right flick, right? So in setting up this side, because I have this little bit of short length. And have you ever cut hair and then you're like, ooh, that doesn't feel quite right. But the client's looking at you going like, yeah, that doesn't feel quite right, right? So you know how important that is. So for this section, when I'm talking, I want to show the visual on this side. It's straight up to the same point that Elle was talking about, where the high point of the head drops down to the top of the ear. From there back, it's straight under, sleeker, flat ironed. From the high point forward, I have used this 3-in-1, which is a flat iron, but different. You can see it has like these red, also known as dots coming on in there. That means it's working. I use this all the time. And I want to take up to that ear, right? So everything in front of that ear, I want to take and bevel back. You can't quite get it all at once. Make sure that you comb this, which I have one in my pocket. I'm going to comb this section forward, and I'm going to place it into the iron, and I'm going to bend it back. Just get that one section and let it, slowly pass through there. You only want to hit it once, maybe twice if it's stubborn hair, but most of the time you can get it with just one. And then that way it has a natural flip back. It has that movement back away from the face so that it looks natural when we do it later. That was on the flat iron setting, which is the 2. Get up in there. Right. So once you push it all the way up, it gets quiet. You can use the blow dryer too if it's wet a little bit. For now, that would be too loud. So we're going to take that section all the way up to the front. Same mentality. Now I need scissors, right? Somebody tell me where my scissors are. There they are. Okay, so I got a bunch of scissors, but today I'm going to use these round ones. The blades are rounded on the slicing scissors, right? So they are going to push the hair a little bit more. I'm going to cut inside my hands. It looks like a razor. Yes? Simone said, yeah, Alan. It looks like a razor. And so I'm going to get a little bit of that effect, but it's not a razor. In fact, I'm going to go diagonal with my sections for maximum softness. Let them be finer. The finer, the better in this case. Oh, man. Oh, there they are. Clips in my pocket.
Of course.
PU. Elle's not here to tell me where they are. I'm going to turn this away from you. So just recognize the face is going horizontal, or also known as parallel, with the screen. So square with the screen here. And I'm going to take the fringe, which is a little diagonal section, and I'm going to go across the grain. And I'll show you the section as soon as I'm done. Pay attention first on the elevation. Notice the slope of the forehead. The forehead's coming off, right? And each one's different. Sometimes it's a little lower, sometimes it's a little higher. What you want to do is take the hair against the forehead and let it sit with it and come flush off of that plane. Then I'm going to come back the opposite direction and cut inside my hands. My guideline length is about that long, shorties, little babies. So my fingers slide way past there, and I'm going to cut inside my hands here. Little tiny bites at a time. And a razor stroke, you'd pass through just the smallest amount of hair each time. And I'm keeping that same mentality, razor mentality. I can see inside of my hand, put up against my black. I can see in my hand the texture, right? So if I notice that there's one of those, I know that I have one of those right there. But each time I double check that little bit in my hand to make sure that there's no wilies. I am pretty clear and clean, right? My section is now revealed. Let me turn her towards you. Hi. You can see now that this section is actually just a little tiny triangle. It goes down diagonal back, essentially. So I'm going to take another one. And the finer the hair, the more sensitive you have to be with the technique. So I'm going to try this side and see if it's easier to see. The finer the hair, the more sensitive I might be with this. Recognize that if the hair is fine enough, maybe I should just go blunt and then add texture with maybe an Invisablend or something blending shear, something like that. So now look at this piece in particular. I got a couple heavy chops in there. Boom, boom. I did that on purpose so you could see them. But now I want to go back and visit those pieces as they're coming up. So don't wait till later and then have to come back and texturize. There's those heavy pieces. Just slide out past it. Let the heavy ones stay in your hand and just get those, even if you got to pinch just a single one. Recognize, though, that the more I grab pieces and pick up and pinch and pull toward me, the more chaos I'm going to get as it goes back to where it lives. But maybe I want a lot of like texture and grunge. Cool. Just pick up pieces once at a time. If you want them to move together like a whole unit, take them together. It's just like life, right? If they stay together, they'll act better together. If they live alone, they'll act crazy. And that's what's going on in 2022. There it is. So I got those bits out. All I'm going to do is carry that around. The depth, like I said, goes out to the high point of the ear. So if you want to pre-section that high point out, make sure that you just get the top of the ear from the high point of the head to the top of the ear, or apex, or whatever you want to call it. Elle measured it like this. There it is. From that point to the top of the ear is where I'll work those sections. The deeper I go, the more shaggy it feels, and the shallower I stay, the more modern it feels. When I say modern, I mean because the shag's old. And when I dip down and take these sections, and this will be the last one I'll show you, and then I'll jump off and do the last few because it just kind of repeats. But I want to point out what happens when you get to the overall length. I'm going to come back and blunt this bob off in the end. But I started on the fringe because I just went with it. Felt right. Sometimes you just have to trust your gut. The joy of hairdressing is that you are in charge of it, and you get to decide what you do on each client each day. That's the reason why we do it, most of us. So I'm going to take that piece. Notice I got my guide. I'm going to direct it across, and you will see the hair that now comes into the length down here. I'm going to cut through that. That's where it takes the bravery. I'm on this opposite side so you can just see right up as close to that line as possible. And I'm punching through those sections all the way. Keep your scissor. I'll try this. I don't know. I said it was done, but it just doesn't look right. Here we go. Better on this side. Keep your scissor parallel to that grain of hair. The more I turn my scissor in, the choppier it gets, which I can utilize on big, thick hair, but on fine hair, you want to make sure, double check your section. Do I got any wilies? Nope. On the finer hair, you want to kind of measure it twice and pull it over before you get that last bit. So I left the tiniest bit out at the bottom just to make sure. And you can see the harder I wrap it across, the longer it drops down and stays. The closer I stay to that actual section, meaning less over direction, the shorter it'll get. So my suggestion is wrap far first, double check, and then once you know, oh, not short enough, come back and add it a little bit shorter. So I'll continue that for those last 3 sections, and then I'll come back and we'll cut the bottom off.
All right. Okay, so just to catch you up, we have, great job, Roger. We have cut our next bevel or section right here, and it's the one right behind the ear. And so there's a little thing that happens in this area is the hairline starts to jump right here. So in the comments, have you guys ever done a bob and accidentally cut a hole in it? I know I have. I think it was like my first or second year of hairdressing, and it was on my coworker. And then she ended up having to go shorter with her bob, and then she kept that haircut for like 3 years. So I was like, you're welcome. But it was an accident. It was a mistake, as Bob Ross would call it, a happy little accident, right? So here's that section that I take above the ear so that doesn't happen, is you want to take just hair, your first section. Typically we would start lower, so it's a thinner section to cut. We want to jump above the ear and take that as our first section. So your first horizontal line when cutting right behind the ear is going to be about an inch, ½ inch above the ear is your first subsection. And I cut this the exact same way, and you guessed it, we're going to cut it the same way on this next one as well. So we're going to jump now to the front. What I like about this is how quick it is. Also, I'm not perfect. Every time I might have some wily hairs, as Roger would call them, where they don't look perfectly even. What's so beneficial about finding the major changes of the head shape and going through and finding these bevels is that you can find exactly where you might have messed up. So I can section right back to the same bevel and see where there might be a hair that's not cooperating, right? Okay, so I'm just going to take this over, and here's that first section in the very front here. Okay, so it's going to be a horizontal section. Remember, your body position in the salon is going to be right in front of this. I'm off to the side so you guys can see today. I have a loose tension. My finger position is parallel with that section or bevel right there. And my finger angle is even, meaning that it's blunt, it's straight. I'm going to cut a straight horizontal line. And I'm going to keep it very little elevation, but why we call it elevation is my finger is actually behind it. So it's going to sit off of the neck just a little bit. And I'm okay with that because it's dry. We want a little bit of texture. Okay, so here's my guide coming from that previous section right there. Now I'm just going to scan across. And I'm okay with like long pieces at first because I'm going to come back the other way, right? So I'm going to come back and jump this way. Back and forth. Now, cutting diagonal when you point cut versus vertical, I'm just covering more area at this point. So if I went in and went vertical with it, I would get a good amount of hair off, but it's going to take a little longer. That's the main difference. It's also going to be a little bit chunkier, if you will, a little bit more of a choppiness to the ends when I go through diagonally. Now I'm just going to drop down another section. Horizontal. I'm going to get this fringe out of the way. Okay, same thing. Let's start from the side view here. So I'm going to comb into its natural fall. I'm going to lock my fingers in. You can see how my fingers are close to the neck right there, right? So go straight down, give you this view for a sec, and now I'm just going to cut across. So that's how close my fingers are to the neck. And I'm just going to point cut. A tip when point cutting is try to actually cut as you're pulling out. So you're not going to accidentally cut yourself, which happens. I still do it. But try and cut as you pull out. Okay. Now, one thing too about the head shape right here is if you feel the head shape, you're going to notice that it's a little like, it almost points out at the ear. So when you're going through and you're matching that, it's almost going to point your fingertips at the ear instead of being straight out, if that makes sense. In the chat, give some love. Now, if I wanted to pull straight out like this and not hug against the shape of the head, that would almost give me just a little bit of an angle in the front, which I do that sometimes. It's all about action consequence, what you're looking for out of your haircut. Okay, this is the last section. We're getting a pretty good little bob right there. Float down. I'm not death gripping it. It's a really gentle kind of hold on the hair. And then another tip you can see, I have my ring finger out and I'm going to rest my blade on that ring finger. That helps me prevent from cutting myself as well. And I always like to, after I cut, if you're anything like me, you're going to notice I tilt my head. Don't know why. It's the worst habit in the world. So I'm like, oh, that looks straight. And then I look straight up and it's a little uneven. So what I would suggest doing is it's like a picture, right? If you paint a picture, it's hard to see all the details when you're really close up on it. So take a step back, look at it. I'll comb it down and I'll just start detailing from far away. But we got a nice blunt line happening right there. And Roger's going to catch up in a sec. I'm going to go through and detail this underneath, and how I'll do that is I'm just going to point her down. And as they look down, you're going to see there's just some extra hair right there. And that's from that finger that I had behind the hair. So we're just going to cut that off to get that laser bob. If you learned something, show some love in the chats. I'm going to get us set up to do our blunt fringe and a little bit of texturizing. Awesome.
Yeah, buddy. Okay, so fringe is done both sides. I am feeling pretty good about it. The thing that I will say is that one side feels a little heavy, right? The side that I did before, I added a little bit of texture in the end, and I want to show you how I did that now. I'm going to come at it with the Invisiblend. The Invisiblend is one with quite a few teeth. It has a couple accents about it. They hit the blade at a diagonal, so it dilutes, I say dilutes, or softens. I got the comb in my pocket again. Here we go. But I'm going to drop her down. I'm going to do the bob, blunt off bob too in a second, but I want to get the frame right first. Now, anybody that's ever cut their hair off, right, the steps sometimes are important. If somebody's looking for a really big change and they just want it now, just cut the whole bob off and let them have it. if somebody's transitioning into this change, I would work on the fringe first and go around until the last bit. We're going to celebrate when we cut that stuff off. I say celebrate because you could either like fear something or you could jump into it. All right. But in this, I'm trying to figure out the best way to show this. In the real world, let me just show you what I would do first, and then I'll turn to where you can actually see. In the real world, I would stand right in front of my section. I would direct it right to myself. I'm doing it across the way I did before. And then I just comb back around my hand, whoop, and then so that I can cut right in front of me. So now I'm going to attempt to do that facing you, which is going to look strange, but so that you can see. So I'm going to go out, direct it across, and then wrap it back. That's not even good enough. There. Hand goes back, or palm goes down, then I flip back. So I need to hit these hairs from this side. Strange little position. There it is. I can try that. So I'm going to cut from inside of that section, push my way out, open and close, open and close, open and close. Try position number 3 and see if we can get it there. So now I'm standing way over on the opposite side, but the idea is that I want it to flip back, and then I'm going to cut from there out. The invisible end is my choice for this one. I start from the top and work down because the short bits out here on the outside, so where they would live would be right in the middle, front. I want the shortest pieces there and push out. Now here's the thing. If I pick that section up and I work it a lot, it's going to really lighten up and float away with the wind. So you decide really how much that is for you. I would say finer the hair, the less you camp there. When it's thick, thick hair, you can stay for a while. Don't get what you've done already, so we'll take out that first corner. Just working now this second corner. I'm going to layer the top still a little bit. So if you find a piece that's longer or shorter, this is where Ellen and I differ. Just leave it. You know, it's those little subtle changes between these lengths that make a difference, in my opinion. In this front face frame, that's really important. Now, when the hair is sitting long and camped strong at the bottom, they don't need to vary in length. But this stuff in the front, if there's short pieces and long pieces, that's what gives it that razor feel. So if you're looking for blunt, you can come back through and let me show you. If you're looking for more blunt, you can take them across and point cut those pieces there to make them match up. But I'm not. I'm looking for less blunt, please. And each one of us has a different taste, has a different style. And not only that, each one of your clients has that as well. So are you looking for the one with lots of fabric and lots of texture and lots of movement, air everywhere? Do you like it long and strong and lean? Doesn't really matter. The difference is just vary the tool and vary the result, essentially. So now I have that lined up, and let me just show you what it's like to cut it off. In my world, it's important to measure twice because you're only going to do it one time. So I'm going to look at it front on, and boop, I could take a piece there and do it if I wanted. I could. Let's do it. Look, get my face frame. It's matched up kind of there already because I brought it back around. So let's use that as my guide. And I'm going to now slide in, reach my scissor in, and pull the hair out to it. So I tap behind the comb, and I pull out to it. And then I'm going to get some right there. My first tap, pull from underneath and pull back. It's going to suspend out off of the head there. That's good. My second tap, see, after I've done this already, I'm going to switch the scissor around, and now the blade's going to hit that opposite side. Talked about this before, but I'll say it again. If it was an axe, you would notice an impact on it. I know axes, what? Like if you hit it with the outside with an axe, it would chip down, right? Like wood, like wood. Got to leave this back here a little bit further. So that sneak underneath and pull it out to you. This time, I got the scissor held regular, so the blade's striking underneath. Second tap. I'm going to switch it. And now the blade hits the top. For me, when I'm grabbing all this hair at one time, it's good for me to think about hitting both sides of those sections and how it's approaching it. So you could come in underneath again, slide in, get all the hair, pull it out to the comb. Make sure it's in natural fall down. Kill it. The kind of girl that you do this on is the one that's seeking the impact of this big change. In the 20s and the 60s and the 90s, when bobs were excelling and taking off and really exploring, like the kind of person that we never thought would get a bob in those days. They needed it really sharp and fast. And so when you got it cut in a barber shop back then, you know how barbershops cut, you know, like with respect, they were the ones that brought the bob in the first place. So to anybody that thinks that it came out there through somebody in the 60s, you're wrong. It happened in 1917. So when they did it back then, they got it flat. They took a pair of clippers, which you operated by hand, and cut it off. So if it's vintage, if it's old school looking, if it's the one that, you know, shocked the world, let's call it, it's because of how they cut it off as much as it is anything else. So there we go. Now I'm going to come back through and do a little bit of extra work with the texture shear on this other side, like I showed you in the front, just to lighten it up, because right now it's still too heavy. Add a little bit more of that flow back, still using the diagonal back lines. L's coming back in. And I'm going to go.
Okay, here we go. Bob is done. We added a little fringe on one side. So chic. I love it. So what we're going to do first is, I don't know if you can tell, but right here, it's not completely, I'm going to call it like a broomstick bob. Sometimes that happens when it just sticks straight out like this. Boom. There's a little bit of texture in there. So the shear of choice is the 14 tooth point cutting shear. These babies right here. What I like about it, sometimes when we point cut, and what happens is we end up cutting a blunt haircut, no elevation, and then we pick the hair up and we start layering it, because anytime you lift the hair, you're layering hair. So that's how we tend to point cut. I want to keep it as close to one length as possible in its natural fall. So I'm going to use the 14 tooth point cutting shears. I love these. They're super easy to get the same kind of outcome as point cutting, but with one snip. So I'm going to I already did the back a little bit. You can see a little bit of texture. So let's just move to the side here. I'm going to take my comb and I'm just going to place it under the hair, try and keep it in its natural fall as close as possible. And then I'm going to go in diagonally and just cut and slide out, right? Let's try and get real close here. Just like this. Let's move back here. Slight elevation, just because I am lifting it slightly out of natural fall of cut, and cut. And that's just going to give me a little bit of controlled texture. So it's not so broomsticky on the ends. But that is one of my favorite shears to use when cutting for a little bit of texture. Okay, now we're going to move on to our blunt bangs. Let me switch back to my streamlined series shear. I know I'm like blending all my words together today, but we just want a nice blunt line. I did put a little bit of an angle to it so that it sits comfortably. Now, remember, this is where we found that major change of direction, and we went based off of where the head changes shape. So we had this little triangle. I dropped it down. Here's one triangle on this side. What I'm going to do with the hair behind it is I'm going to clip it away horizontally, flat against the head. So I'm going to keep all that hair out of the way. On this side, how we cut it, we kept our finger position in that section, right? So we kept it in this section so that it is completely in its natural fall position. Now, let me get one more clip here. I am cutting dry, and I'm using the no bend clip. So this is going to help control a section. You notice too, before when it was clipped, I had it clipped low. On your guest, you can clip it high and out of their face, but then you want to hit it with the sleeker iron just to make it smooth again and make sure that you're not getting any kind of bends or twists in the hair. Now, I did bump it just a bit, give it a little bevel. So I'm going to try and keep this a little longer. And here's my finger position now. I'm going to go in and keep it completely within that bevel. Try and get as close as possible. My body position, I'm standing off to the side so you can see, but remember your body position would be in front of your client so that you cut a nice straight line. Okay, so instead of going this way and cutting it and including the middle in it, I'm keeping my fingers parallel to that section. Here's my guide right there. I'm going to put a subtle angle on it. Now I know it's hard to match an angle when you have the angle on the other side. So I'll do this first cut and I'll just look for visual balance. Not going to get too caught up about it. Come through. Pretty good. So I'll drop the next section down. I'm doing it in 2 sections. Then I'll texturize, bump, make sure, I guess I say bump, I should say a little bit of bevel, but I'm going to make sure that it's not too short. So it might look long right now because there's no bevel to it, but we're shooting to get that edge right about the corner of the eye on the opposite side. If you guys are learning something, show some love in the chat. I like cutting bangs. It's something I also used to get a little bit nervous about when I first started cutting hair, especially blunt. There's a lot of pressure when doing a blunt line. I know Roger said he likes to leave certain pieces and all that. I do too, but I also love, there's something about structured haircuts that I'm really drawn to and attracted to. And I really like that. And I think that's what's cool about Roger and I. I'm going to grab a different shear while I talk. He is very artistic. He has like a very whimsical approach to things, which I really admire. I'm a little type A. Sometimes I'm like, wait, I got to find exactly where it's going, what's happening. But I think that's what is a great yin and yang, if you will. So now I'm going to take my texture shears. We're going to use the Invisiblends for these. So these are going to be super soft, not going to take a lot of hair out, but they're going to give me a good amount of texture to just break up kind of like the harshness. The blade is going to be facing the teeth, facing the hair. Diagonal, just get a little bit out. If I want to layer it a little, I could just elevate and get the ends. Elevate straight out, get the ends. Okay, now let's grab our sleeker iron. Let's put a little bit of a bump to it. Let's see if that matches. Just like so. I'm going to use the comb to kind of guide it down. Looking pretty good. There's just a few pieces I'm going to clean up just around this eye area right here, but I am at a spot where we can just detail clean up, and then I'll finish or catch up with the completely finished result. And yeah, we'll see where Roger's at.
Yeah. So we got the bob pretty much done. I want to drop just a little bit more movement into this pieces. So show you how you do that. The 3-in-1 is definitely it. I got it on the flat iron setting. Wow. Hi. I think that just dropped me out.
You're still on. You're good.
Okay. Whew. Blessings. Whoever decided to call me from San Antonio. And I am going to loop this back. So you can see I'm just polishing it, flipping it backwards. You can ride your hand on it and let it pull a little bit more to increase the tension. And then once I get that all the way down into the bottom length, I don't want to do it all the way forward. I just want to do it to the top of the ear. And then I'll catch you one last detail on this finishing, the cutoff. So a little roll back there. You can see the little red lights on in there, so it is working. Then that just gives me a natural flip back. And then my final move for this is really connecting this layering that's happening in the front of the fringe to the overall top. And the idea with that is that you want a pointy, skinny blade. I'm going to go with the Artist Series. It's the one that says 10-400. Oh, hi. Get in there. Focus, focus, focus. Can't read it. All that work. It's the 10-400 if you like numbers. If you don't, it's the Artist Series. It says Japan on it only. And I'm going to take the hair. So you'll see now the fringe length where it is. Let me drop her down just a bit. Get down there. Got the fringe length in the front. So when I drag it forward, you can see just the slightest little bit of length difference between those two. And of all the things in the world I could do, I'm not going to connect them. I know it's terrible, but I'm going to take those pieces across the way, opposite of where they live, and then it'll generate a little corner. I want to take that corner off. So I'm literally going to point cut, boop, 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 boop. Leave some long, leave some short. The idea really is that I'm making like lengths. I'm not matching the lengths. And then when I do that, I have only hit the blade, boom, boom. It's hitting the back of that section each time. So just to get a little bit more like craziness, I know, get weird, I'm going to spin that section. And now this blade is hitting the front of the section. So I'm just taking out a little bit more. So you've seen Sam Villa's sort of like twisty bang. This is the same concept, but work vertically. When I work it vertically, I go across the way first. So that's opposite of where it lives exactly. Take that corner off. Take it straight up. And then here is where I'm going to twist it. So my hand like works better if I go underneath, right? So I'm literally, instead, like normally I would pick up here, cut it. If you want to, you could take that point cut one way and then twist it and point cut the other way, but it feels weird like kind of twisting it. For me, I just feel like if I grab it and twist it around. Now that section's got chaos in it, right? I cut everything blunt, I cut it flat, but really what I get in the result is I don't go deep. So my layers only exist on the top plateau. And down deep, I still have all the strength that I want. So as I work my way around here, I go starting in the front and working my way to the back. You can see what's been layered and what has not. And at a certain point in time, I got to find the balance where I actually don't add any layers. So maybe I only get that top piece on the one that connects them. So I'm just taking the very top corner off of that. And that's the only layering I'll do there to blend them together. And then you have the structure of the bob underneath with the kind of chaos over the top. And to me, that's how I live my life. That's the joy of hairdressing for me, is that we are allowed to be different people and that the people that love to live that way come and find you as well. And that's pretty fantastic. So I am going to slide out of the way. You coming back in over here, Elle? You want
Yeah, just to recap.
Yeah.
I'm all done.
I'm going to keep just sort of cutting here while
sit
you
in
go.
there. This is the end result. We got our blunt bob with our blunt fringe. You know, she's feeling it. What I wanted to say just about the very ending, like when you finish a bob, because this is all about, I would say, like getting over your fears, because it's kind of scary to go through. Say yes if you're with me on this, to go through and do like a really crisp, clean cut, especially that fringe. You know, have you ever felt like a client's like looking at you in the mirror and slightly being like, what the heck is going on? And you're like, don't worry, I'm going to cut the other side. I'm not done yet. So I know we've all been there for sure. And I think the biggest thing I could say is just take your time. You're the artist, right? And I know they say measure 3 times, cut once. I'm kind of like a baby cut and then fully cut if I need to. I err on the side of caution. Also my personality, I would say. 100%. So we are complete opposites in the perfect way for sure. So yeah, if you need to stay longer with it, step back, ask her or ask them if they feel good about like where the length is. Do that, you know, take a deep breath, follow your instincts on that. You know, if you have issues trying to get your bobs nice and even, take screenshots of the sectionings from earlier and just remember to slow down to speed up. Just to recap, like the scissors I used too, is we did the 14 tooth point cutting shears. Those were for texture on the bottom. And then I did this entire cut with the 5.5 streamline, which I threw over here somewhere, but those are all 25% off right now. I use the Invisiblends for the fringe, which is my favorite area of the head to actually use those shears. So if you have any questions, you can always reach out. Someone says, I'm a full baby cut once, then tweak it. I do that in my life for sure. That is also how I can be as well. But the more you practice, the more comfortable you get with just one and done, which I've gotten there, but sometimes I still err on the side of caution, especially those girls that aren't ready to cut totally, you said, or if, you know, either of them don't feel completely set on going that short, maybe I'll go baby cut. Let's start it out, right? So
baby cut.
Looks sick, Roger.
Thanks.
We got the bobs on the Bob Ross inspired joy of hair cutting.
Bob Ross.
Yeah.
Bob.
We didn't mean to do that, but it seems pretty spectacular.
We can leave the girl.
Hey,
yeah.
I have one burning question.
Yes.
Are you both lefties?
No.
Oh, we're having a weird flip on our screen then, because the whole time, like, we've been chatting back and forth, like, I didn't know Roger and Ellen were both lefties. On our screen, it's looking like you both are lefties. There must be some weird flip happening.
It's the phone. Yeah, it's the phone. Okay.
We're
so
married.
now we'll know. We'll know now. We'll make that back, but I probably look super, super cool now and unique.
Right. I'm so much
someone commented, like, because you are a lefty, and I'm like, I don't think they're lefties, though. This is really bizarre.
No, yeah. Oh, interesting.
All day we've
In
been
the virtual world you are. Well, great class, both of you. And I do really, I love the contrast, because you're right, Ellen. Like, you kind of have this more very structured, kind of like precise approach. Roger brings in this kind of like painterly sort of, you know, a free flowing approach. And it's so fun to watch both of you bounce between the two shapes and the two techniques. It's a really awesome combo.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate that. My final bit that I'd like to just leave you guys with is that, you know, we've been out here in St. Louis for maybe 3 or 4 months now and haven't really been doing salon hair. We've been going crazy on our mannequins. Poor girls are all real short, but we've been noticing and thinking and talking and discussing how much joy we get from a salon and from the people that we serve, and the key word there being serve. I would give anything to have a Christmas full of clients this year. And so for you guys that are out there that have that joy, I know that there's going to come a time, and maybe you've already there, where you're like, how am I going to get through this? Just remember what it's like to have them. Just remember how much you love them, how committed you've been to them, and how much they've given you. And you shall find joy in that. Especially if it's only, you know, January 1st, think about how life begins again now next year and what's going to happen. And, you know, I just wanted to leave you guys with that. And the joy of hairdressing for me has and always will be the clients. And since we now do an education so much that you guys are the clients to us, and how much that means to have this opportunity too. I'm not going to cry. What's going on? But that's all. That's really my joy this year. I hope that you enjoyed today. Thank you, Ellen, as always.
Thank you,
and
Roger.
Andrew and Sylvia team. You guys are another big brick in that joy building that we still
sure.
dwell in now.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Have a good
Happy holidays to you both. And that was a beautiful way to end it. Thank you so much. Thank you both for wrapping up this year of education with us. And we'll see you when you get to be the first educators on the new year.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.